Okay, let's be real for a sec.
Hmm.
Breakups,
Yeah,
they're rough.
definitely.
No way around it.
Nope.
You're probably listening to this right now and feeling kind of lost.
Yeah.
Like, how do I even begin to move on?
It can feel overwhelming.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why we're doing this deep dive.
Yeah.
We're going to tackle getting over your ex.
Head on.
We've got two awesome sources to guide us.
Okay.
There's this article by Max Jankar called How to Get Over Your Ex and Move On with Your Life.
Catchy title.
Right?
Yeah.
And then we've also got this super practical WikiHow article called 19 Ways to Quickly Move On and Let Go of Your Ex.
19 ways.
I know, right? Lots to unpack. So get ready, because we're about to dive into some pretty interesting and even kind of philosophical ideas about healing and how to create a meaningful life after a breakup.
Sounds good.
All right, let's jump right in.
Okay.
So first things first, that empty feeling you're probably wrestling with,
Oh, yeah.
Jankar calls it the meaning vacuum.
Love that term.
It's that feeling of loss and disorientation.
It's like a piece of you is missing.
Exactly. It's like your whole world just got flipped upside down.
And your routine.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it makes sense, right? Relationships give us meaning.
Really.
They provide structure, purpose, a sense of belonging.
We take that away and...
Like, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly.
Jankar even shares this personal story about how after a breakup, he felt completely lost.
Like questioning everything.
Totally. Like, what's the point of anything anymore?
Mm.
And I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling.
Definitely. It's more than just sadness.
It's an existential crisis.
Exactly. And it's not just in your head either.
Oh, what do you mean?
This meaning vacuum, it has real-world consequences.
Okay.
Jankar connects it to all those post-breakup struggles. The obsessive thoughts, the anger, the anxiety, even depression.
Wow.
It's wild.
It is. It's like this domino effect.
It is.
So then how do we fill this void?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Well, the goal is definitely to create new meaning.
Okay.
But here's the catch.
What's that?
You can't just force it.
Oh, so it's not like an instant fix.
Not at all. It takes time, effort, and the right foundation.
Okay. I like where this is going.
Jankar uses this analogy that I love.
Let's hear it.
He says you can't build a house on quicksand.
Makes sense.
You need solid ground first.
So what's the solid ground in this scenario?
Stability.
Okay, so we need stability before we can even think about creating new meaning.
Exactly. He outlines these 3 key areas to focus on.
Okay, lay 'em on me.
First, you got to create space from your ex.
Okay, so like the no contact rule.
You got it. Both sources are big on this.
It's got to be important.
It is. It's about giving yourself the space to heal and process everything.
Right, no texting, no calling, no social media stalking.
Precisely.
Okay, so space from the ex, what's next?
Number 2, get those basic life areas back on track.
The essentials.
Yep. Sleep, exercise, diet.
Easy to let those slide when you're heartbroken.
Totally. But they're so important.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've got space from the ex, we've got our basic needs covered. What's the third thing?
This one's huge.
Hit me with it.
Start getting a handle on your emotions.
Oh, that's easier said than done.
I know, right? But it's crucial.
Okay, so how do we even start?
Jankar talks about allowing yourself to feel those emotions.
Not pushing them down.
No, let yourself grieve, let yourself be angry, let yourself cry.
Okay, so feel it all.
Yes, and then start working on forgiveness.
Forgiving your ex.
And yourself.
Oh, that's a good point. It's easy to get stuck in blame and resentment.
Definitely. And finally, try to cultivate a sense of gratitude.
Gratitude. After a breakup.
I know, it sounds counterintuitive.
It does.
But focusing on the good things in your life, even the small things, can help shift your perspective.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And the WikiHow article has some practical tips for all of this, right?
Tons. They suggest things like creating a daily schedule, journaling, doing activities that bring you joy, and setting clear boundaries.
Okay, so once we've tackled those 3 areas, space from the ex, getting those basic needs met, and managing our emotions, then what?
Then we can start to build that new meaning.
And Jankar lays out these 4 pillars to help us do that.
He does.
Belonging, purpose, narrative, and transcendence.
Powerful stuff.
Right. And these pillars become even more important after a breakup.
How so?
Because you're basically rebuilding your life and your sense of self from scratch.
It's like starting a new chapter.
Exactly.
All right, let's break down each pillar.
Okay, let's start with belonging.
This one seems particularly important after a breakup. You know, when you might be feeling isolated and alone.
Absolutely. It's about feeling connected to something larger than yourself.
Okay, so how do we cultivate that sense of belonging?
Both sources emphasize the importance of strong relationships.
Makes sense.
whether it's with friends, family, or even finding new communities.
So like joining a club or a sports team or something.
Exactly. Or maybe volunteering for a cause you're passionate about. Oh, yeah, I like that. And what about dating? Is it too soon to even think about that after a breakup?
Well, Jankar actually brings up a really interesting point about dating.
Oh, what's that?
He says it can actually help with belonging.
Really?
But
There's a but.
there's always a but.
Okay, I'm listening.
He says it only works if you're dating for the right reasons.
What does that even mean?
It means not using dating as a distraction or an ego boost.
Ah, okay, no rebounding.
Exactly.
So dating can be a healthy way to cultivate a sense of belonging,
It can.
but only if it's for the right reasons.
Precisely. And both sources agree on another important point about relationships after a breakup.
What's that?
Trying to be friends with your ex right away.
Yeah.
Not a good idea.
Why not? I mean, if you were friends before, why can't you be friends after?
It's just too messy.
How so?
Well, those feelings are still there. The hurt, the anger, the confusion.
Okay.
And trying to be friends while you're still processing all of that can just make it harder to move on.
It's like you're clinging to the past.
Exactly. You need that clean break, that space to heal and figure things out.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, so we've covered belonging. What's next?
Let's talk about purpose.
This one feels kind of intimidating.
Oh, yeah, especially after a breakup when you might be questioning everything.
Exactly. Like, what am I even supposed to do with my life now?
Right. But Jankar does a great job of demystifying purpose.
How so?
He says it's not about finding some grand, predetermined mission.
Oh, that's a relief.
Right. It's much simpler than that.
Okay, so what is it about then?
It's about choosing what's important to you.
That's it.
That's the starting point.
Okay, but how do we even know what's important to us?
He gives us these 3 things to think about.
Okay,
What do you enjoy doing? What are you good at? And what do others value?
interesting. Okay, so let me think about that for a second. What I enjoy doing, what I'm good at, and what others value.
It's about finding that sweet spot where those 3 things intersect.
Like the Venn diagram of purpose?
Exactly. And that's where you'll find that sense of fulfillment.
Okay, I can see that. And the WikiHow article has a really practical suggestion for tapping into those 3 areas.
What's that?
Reconnecting with things you might have set aside during the relationship,
Ah, yes. That's a good one.
like hobbies, interests, passions.
It's about rediscovering those parts of yourself that maybe got neglected.
So it's not necessarily about finding something new.
Nope. It could be about reigniting something old.
Okay, that makes sense. And is purpose something that stays the same forever?
It's a great question. And actually, Giankar points out that purpose can evolve over time.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's not a fixed destination, it's more like a journey.
Okay, so our purpose might change as we grow and change.
Exactly, and that's totally normal.
So we don't need to freak out if we don't have it all figured out right now.
Nope, just be open to exploring and allow your purpose to unfold naturally.
This is great stuff. All right, so we've covered belonging and purpose. Where to go from here?
Next up, narrative.
Okay, this one seems pretty powerful.
It is. It's all about how we interpret our experiences.
And shape our own stories.
Exactly.
So how does narrative play into getting over an ex?
Jankar says our brains are wired to create narratives.
Like stories.
Yep, especially after big life events like breakups.
So we create these stories to make sense of what happened.
Exactly. And those stories can either empower us or hold us back.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
He gives the example of negative versus positive breakup narratives.
Oh, like what?
A negative narrative might sound like, it's all my fault or I'll never find love again.
Those are rough.
They are. And they can really keep you stuck.
Okay, so what would a positive narrative sound like?
It might be something like, this was a valuable learning experience, or I'm stronger now than I was before.
Oh, I like those much better.
Right. It's about choosing a narrative that focuses on growth and resilience.
So instead of seeing the breakup as a failure,
You see it as an opportunity.
to learn and grow.
Exactly. And that's crucial for moving on in a healthy way.
And this ties in nicely with something the WikiHow article emphasizes.
What's that?
Focusing on yourself, not on your ex.
Yes. It's about taking ownership of your story.
Not letting your ex define it.
You're in control.
So instead of dwelling on what they're doing or thinking,
And focus on your own healing and growth.
it's like reclaiming your power.
Absolutely. And shaping a narrative that empowers you to move forward.
Okay, this is making a lot of sense. All right, so we've covered belonging, purpose, and narrative. What's our final pillar?
This one's a bit more abstract.
Okay, hit me with it.
Transcendence.
Transcendence. How does that relate to getting over an ex?
It might seem like a stretch, but it's actually pretty powerful.
Okay, I'm listening.
Think about those moments when you feel a sense of awe and wonder.
Like when?
Maybe you're staring up at a starry sky or
Yeah.
watching a breathtaking sunset.
Or listening to a piece of music that just moves you.
Exactly. It's those moments when you connect to something larger than yourself.
And you feel a sense of peace and connection.
Exactly. And Jankar says those moments can actually lead to a deeper sense of meaning and purpose.
Really? I always thought transcendence was about feeling insignificant, like we're just a tiny speck in the universe.
It can be about that too, but it's not always a negative thing.
Okay, explain that to me.
Think about it this way.
I'm thinking.
When we realize how vast and amazing the universe is,
Yeah.
it can help us put our own problems into perspective.
So our worries and anxieties start to feel smaller.
Exactly. And that can be incredibly freeing.
Especially after a breakup, when it's so easy to get caught up in your own pain.
Exactly. Transcendence can help us see the bigger picture.
And remember that life goes on.
Exactly. And the amazing thing is, you don't have to climb Mount Everest or meditate for hours to experience transcendence.
Good.
Jankar says it can be found in everyday life.
Like how?
Taking a walk in nature,
Okay.
listening to your favorite music,
Okay.
witnessing an act of kindness.
Or just appreciating the beauty of a simple moment.
Exactly. It's about being present and open to those moments of awe and wonder.
And the WikiHow article also encourages this, right?
They do. They talk about stepping outside of your comfort zone, trying new things, experiencing life fully.
It's about embracing the world with a sense of curiosity and openness.
Exactly. And seeking out those moments that spark joy and wonder.
Wow, this is making me want to go for a walk in the park right now.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's amazing how something as simple as that can be so powerful.
All right, so we've explored these 4 pillars of meaning creation: belonging, purpose, narrative, and transcendence.
Are quite a framework.
They are. But then Jenkar throws us a curveball at the end of his article.
Oh.
And it's one that I think we need to unpack carefully.
I'm all ears.
He spends the whole article building up these pillars of meaning, offering a roadmap to navigate the meaning vacuum after a breakup.
Mm-hmm.
And then he hits us with this bombshell.
What's that?
He says the meaning we create might actually be a mirage.
It's a bold statement, for sure.
Yeah, I was kind of thrown off by it.
But there's a silver lining here.
Oh.
Yeah, like when you dig a little deeper,
Okay.
what he's saying is actually pretty beautiful.
Okay, I'm curious. I mean, how can meaning be a mirage?
Okay, so think of it like this.
Mm-hmm.
What if meaning was inherent?
Like already decided for us.
Exactly, like it's predetermined by some force outside of us.
And what would that mean for us?
It means we don't have much say in our own lives.
Okay, I see that. We're just pawns in some cosmic game.
Right. But what if we flip that on its head?
What if meaning isn't inherent, but something we create?
Yeah, you're getting it.
And if we create meaning,
Then we become the architects of our own lives.
we get to decide what matters.
What we value, what kind of impact we want to make,
That's a game changer.
especially after a breakup.
Because it's so easy to feel lost and directionless.
Absolutely. But this idea gives us power.
It says we're not victims of
We
circumstance,
can shape our own future.
even after heartbreak.
Even then.
I like that. So how do we reconcile this idea of the meaning mirage with those 4 pillars of meaning creation?
It's about approaching those pillars with intention.
Okay.
Jankar's not saying those things are meaningless.
Belonging, purpose, narrative, transcendence.
Exactly. He's just highlighting that the meaning we get from them,
Yeah.
it comes from us.
It's something we actively create, not passively receive.
You got it.
So it's not just about finding a community to belong to.
No.
It's about choosing communities that resonate with our values.
That contribute to our purpose.
And it's not just about discovering a passion. It's about intentionally pursuing it.
Making it into something meaningful.
I'm starting to see how this all ties together.
It's all connected.
And it's about shaping a narrative that empowers us
That helps us move forward with strength and resilience.
and finding those moments of transcendence.
Those moments that connect us to something bigger than ourselves.
I'm starting to see how understanding the meaning mirage can actually be liberating.
It is. It's about embracing the impermanence of life.
And the ever-evolving nature of meaning itself.
Exactly.
Okay, but let's bring it back down to earth for a sec.
Mm-hmm.
For those of us who are struggling to even get out of bed after a breakup,
Yeah.
what do these sources say about those early stages of healing?
Stability is key.
Okay, we talked about that before.
Create space from your ex. Get those basic needs met. Manage your emotions.
Right. The WikiHow article goes into a lot of practical tips for all of that.
Totally. Things like making a schedule, journaling, mindfulness, reaching out for support,
Being intentional about your healing,
and giving yourself grace along the way.
self-compassion.
Exactly. It's okay to not be okay.
Don't judge yourself for feeling those emotions.
Let yourself grieve, be angry, be confused.
Jane Carr even says, find a safe space to let it all out.
Cry, scream into a pillow, talk to a friend.
Whatever helps you process those emotions.
And once you're feeling a bit more stable,
Then what?
both sources talk about shifting your focus.
From your ex to yourself?
It's a crucial step.
But it's easier said than done.
Definitely. Especially if you're used to defining yourself in relation to your partner.
So how do we do that? How do we shift that focus?
The WikiHow article suggests focusing on personal growth.
Like setting new goals.
Exactly. Exploring activities you enjoy.
Rediscovering who you are outside of the relationship.
Reminding yourself that you're whole and complete on your own.
And that brings us back to those 4 pillars.
Belonging, purpose, narrative, transcendence.
Active steps we can take to create a meaningful life.
Even if meaning is ultimately a mirage.
We have the power to choose what that mirage looks like.
And how it shapes our experience.
Okay, let's dive a little deeper into those pillars,
Sounds good.
starting with belonging.
That sense of connection is so important after a breakup.
Especially when you might be feeling isolated.
Both sources talk about nurturing your existing relationships.
Friends, family.
And also seeking out new connections.
So like joining groups, clubs, online communities.
Anything that gives you that sense of shared experience.
And remember, Jane Carr says dating can be a part of that.
But only if it's for the right reasons.
No rebounds. No ego boosts.
It's about genuine connection.
And it's not just about the number of connections.
It's about the quality.
Having those close, supportive relationships.
The ones that make you feel seen and valued.
Okay, let's move on to purpose.
This one can feel a bit overwhelming.
Especially after a breakup.
But remember, purpose doesn't have to be some grand mission.
It could be anything that gives your life meaning.
Jan Carr breaks it down into 3 areas.
What do you enjoy? What are you good at? What do others value?
Find that sweet spot.
And the WikiHow article says to reconnect with things you set aside during the relationship.
Hobbies, interests, passions.
Give yourself permission to explore.
And remember, purpose can evolve.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Be open to new possibilities.
Is there anything else we should touch on about purpose?
Oh, one more thing.
Yeah.
Purpose doesn't have to be singular.
You can have multiple purposes,
Throughout your life.
each one adding richness and depth to your experience.
It's about living a multifaceted life.
A life that reflects your evolving interests and values.
That's the beauty of it.
Okay, now let's talk about narrative
This one's all about how we interpret our experiences.
and shape our own stories.
Jan Carr says our brains are natural storytellers,
We create narratives to make sense of things,
especially after big life events.
like breakups.
And those stories can either empower us or hold us back.
He talked about negative versus positive narratives.
The stories we tell ourselves about the breakup,
The negative ones can really keep us stuck.
things like, I'm not good enough or I'll never find love again.
Those are tough.
But we can choose a different story.
A positive narrative,
One that focuses on growth, resilience, self-compassion,
like, this breakup taught me valuable lessons.
or I'm stronger now.
It's about reframing the experience.
Seeing it as an opportunity for growth.
And the WikiHow article talks about focusing on yourself,
Not dwelling on your ex.
taking ownership of your own story.
You get to decide how this chapter ends.
Instead of letting the breakup define you.
You define the breakup.
There's power in that.
There is.
Okay, before we move on to transcendence, I want to touch on something Jane Carr mentions.
What's that?
Our narratives often revolve around meaning.
We search for meaning in our relationships, our careers, our experiences.
But what happens when we start to question the very nature of meaning?
That leads us right back to the meaning mirage.
If meaning is a creation, does that invalidate our narratives?
Not at all.
All right.
I think it actually enhances them.
How so?
It allows us to approach our stories with humility.
Recognizing that our interpretations are just that, interpretations.
We're not claiming to have all the answers.
We're just sharing our perspective.
And by embracing that subjectivity
We can become more compassionate.
towards ourselves and others,
We can recognize that there are multiple ways to interpret any experience.
and that our perspective is just one piece of the puzzle.
That's a beautiful way to look at it.
It encourages curiosity, openness, non-judgment.
Even in the face of heartbreak.
There's always potential for growth and connection.
Okay, let's talk about transcendence.
Our final pillar.
This one can feel a bit abstract, especially in the context of getting over a breakup.
I know, right? But stick with me.
Okay.
Transcendence is about connecting to something larger than yourself.
Those moments of awe, wonder, gratitude,
That remind us we're part of something bigger.
something more profound than our individual lives.
And those moments can be found everywhere.
Jankar gives examples like walking in nature, listening to music, witnessing kindness.
Appreciating the beauty of a simple moment.
The WikiHow article also talks about stepping outside your comfort zone.
Trying new things, experiencing life fully.
It's about being present, open to those moments of awe and wonder. So even in the midst of heartbreak,
There's still potential for transcendence.
for connection, for awe, for the reminder that life is still beautiful,
And full of possibility.
and by cultivating those moments,
Seeking out experiences that nourish our souls
we can heal and move forward.
with hope and purpose.
Okay, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Hmm.
is there a hierarchy to these 4 pillars?
Is one more important than the others?
That's a good question.
I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all answer.
Makes sense.
The importance of each pillar will depend on you.
On your needs and circumstances.
But I think it's safe to say they're all interconnected.
They all contribute to a sense of meaning and well-being.
So it's not about choosing one over the others.
It's about finding a balance that works for you
And that balance might change over time.
as you grow and evolve,
The key is to be mindful of your needs.
and to actively cultivate those areas that bring you meaning.
Those things that make you feel fulfilled and connected.
Okay, in our final segment, I want to explore something both sources touch on:
What's that?
the role of self-care in the healing process. Self-care
Yeah?
is something you hear a lot about.
Yeah, it's like the buzzword of the decade.
But what does it really mean when you're trying to get over a breakup?
Right. Is it just bubble baths and face masks?
I mean, those things are nice,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
but I feel like there's got to be more to it.
There is. Self-care is really about prioritizing yourself.
Your well-being.
Exactly. Your physical, emotional, and mental health.
And that's especially important during tough times,
Like after a breakup.
when everything feels upside down.
Exactly.
Okay, so what are some concrete self-care practices we can focus on?
Both sources talk about the basics.
The foundations.
Sleep, nutrition, exercise.
Those are easy to neglect when you're hurting.
So easy. But they make a huge difference.
In how you feel.
Your mood, your energy levels, your ability to cope.
So even if it's the last thing you feel like doing,
Get some rest, eat something healthy, move your body.
your future self will thank you.
And beyond those basics,
What else?
think about things that bring you joy and comfort.
Good.
Spending time in nature, listening to music, being creative.
Meditation, journaling, taking a break.
The WikiHow article even suggests making a self-care toolbox.
A toolbox.
Yeah, like a list of activities you can turn to.
When you're feeling overwhelmed.
Exactly, so you're prepared.
I love that idea. Okay, so we've talked about self-care,
Mm-hmm.
but how does that fit into this whole meaning mirage concept?
Like if meaning is a delusion, does self-care even matter?
That's what I'm wondering.
Well, I think self-care is a fundamental act of meaning creation.
How so?
When you prioritize your well-being,
You're saying your life matters.
exactly, you're worthy of care and attention.
So even if the meaning is subjective,
The act of caring for yourself is a powerful affirmation.
it's like saying I matter
Exactly. And that's so important after a breakup.
when your self-esteem might have taken a hit,
It's a reminder that you're capable of happiness,
that you can create a meaningful life.
even without a partner.
And those 4 pillars we talked about,
Belonging, purpose, narrative, transcendence,
they're all part of that.
they're tools to help you build that life.
And they can evolve as you do,
The key is to be mindful of your needs.
and to cultivate those areas that bring you joy and fulfillment,
And if you find yourself questioning the meaning of it all,
which we all do at some point.
come back to self-care.
That affirmation of your own worth.
It's a powerful anchor.
This has been an incredible deep dive.
It really has.
We've covered so much ground,
From the emotional roller coaster of a breakup,
to practical strategies for healing,
and even some mind-bending philosophical concepts.
and through it all,
We've seen how these two sources,
the Jankar article and the WikiHow guide.
they offer such a well-rounded perspective.
If you're listening to this and you're hurting,
Know that you're not alone.
breakups are tough, but they're also opportunities.
For growth, for self-discovery, for creating a life you love.
We've included links to both sources in the show notes.
Definitely check them out.
This is just the beginning of your journey.
Take your time. Be kind to yourself.
Trust that you have the power to create an amazing future
And here's something to think about.
as you move forward.
If meaning is something we create,
What kind of meaning will you choose?
What story will you tell?
What legacy will you leave behind?
Those are powerful questions.
Ones that each of us must answer for ourselves.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
We'll see you next time.